I am muted. I did the whole intro muted. I do apologize. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel. Why no? Anyway, to my channel for another What We Really Learned from the Past Chelsea game, and of course, so much more. Thank you, guys. Thank you in the chat. Appreciate it. Is anyone going to tell him he's muted? Yeah, thank you. Anyway, blah, what the hell. Anyway, I did put in the chat, Pys and Lewis were going to join me in a minute, but Pys already turned up during the countdown. So here we are. That's why I'm not by myself. Lewis will join us any minute now whenever his stream on his channel finishes. But yeah, there's a lot to get through. A weird day yesterday. Awful game, performance and results. But thanks to Tottenham, it was still in a way a good day. So we'll kind of recap the season a little bit. As muted as pick up yourself, Chester. Pick up yourself. What was I going to say? We're going to try give it a little bit of a Premier League season review. Have a few stats for you. Talk about the transfer news with Hazard and stuff. Obviously, that keeps coming up for some weird reason, so we're going to discuss that. And obviously some injury updates, Edouard Mendy, N'Golo Kante, and just some Champions League final preparations. It's going to be a big week. Pys, first of all, thank you for joining. Hope you're well. And how was yesterday? I mean, actually, because I know you were kind of busy with some family stuff, party or whatever it was. Did you actually get to watch the game?
Yeah, I did. I just obviously couldn't come on after because obviously I had to spend time with them. But yeah, my granddad's birthday, so he allowed me to watch the game. He's actually a West Ham fan, so was very nice of him, considering it was Chelsea. But yeah, I'm glad to be back on, and yeah, I did watch the game, and yeah, it wasn't very good, was it? But luckily, we were saved by Tottenham of all clubs, which is very, very good, obviously. But you know, back to hating them today. But loved them yesterday for a one-off.
Exactly, yeah. Quite literally be bailed out. Chelsea fans' favourite pun in the last 24 hours. But, you know, we move. It's been such a weird... It was a weird game, a weird season. And obviously, I'm not sure if you managed to catch any quotes or watch the whole press conference by Tuchel today. What I find more... Not frustrating is maybe the wrong word, but the weirdest thing is Tuchel keeps going on about, you know, we basically should have won the game in terms of stats, but we didn't. And they were kind of unlucky. And then I think about that, and he's right with when he says that, right? Obviously, individual mistakes, sure, but at the end of the day, he's still not wrong by saying that. But then I think back to, with a few exceptions on the Lampard this season, that's kind of been the vibe we've had for the last 3-4 years straight, except when we lost to like Man City or something. But all the other games, whenever we've lost, we could pretty much always have said, well, we could have won. Stats were pretty good. So it's just a weird thing that happened to Chelsea. I'm not sure if wasn't used to that from PSG or something. Whenever he did lose games with PSG, did they also lose the important stats? Because that would surprise me. Because that rarely happens when you're the strong favourite for a game, and then you usually don't end up having less possession, less chances, less touches in the opposition box. It's kind of like normal. Normal is maybe the wrong word, but for us, it's in a weird way normal. How do you feel about that? Him always going on about these stats that we win the important stats, as if I'm not saying he uses it as an excuse at all, because he doesn't. But it's like, I don't know. Maybe he needs to look a little bit further, because that's clearly not enough.
Yeah, I guess it's just kind of, you know, like even if we lose or draw, it's kind of like, well, we won certain battles and certain things. So I guess he's just trying to take positives away from the overall negatives. I guess I don't know, he's quite of a flair manager. Like, you know, he's a foreign manager. A lot of them do it. You know, they look at deeper sides of the game. They look really in depth at, you know, like ball recoveries and different parts of the game that, you know, your average fan just wouldn't really look at. You know, the average fan just watches the game and reacts to the result. But, you know, some like managers like to go in depth and look at, you know, the amount of touches or the amount of ball recoveries or possession lost, possession won, kind of, you know, how many turnovers, how many, like, Tuchel always mentions as well, like how many meters we cover, you know, like certain players, like, you know, when he's deciding like the lineups for the next game, he's like, well, we'll have to see how much this guy's ran and how much, you know what I mean? He like looks at data as like a really important thing, which is good because, you know, it's more in depth and you get a true better idea of things, I think, looking at it that way. But yeah, very in depth for sure.
No, that 100%. And like I said, he's not wrong. Like, it's not like he's making stats up. He's 100% right with that. But I still sometimes feel like, at least the way he brings it across, he sometimes too satisfied. Like, he's annoyed by the fact we lost. But I feel like I've had the feeling, except after Arsenal, he was weirdly satisfied with the performance when most of us weren't. And that's I found a bit of a confusing thing. And I'm not trying to slate Tuchel here at all. It's just something that, I noticed in today's press conference again. And I was like, this is a bit weird, because I thought we were absolutely shocking yesterday. I don't care how many touches in the opposition box we had. I don't care how many ball recoveries we had. It's irrelevant. We were dreadful from top to bottom. Maybe the first half an hour was acceptable, sure, right? But a game is sadly not half an hour long, but 90 minutes long, right? So, there is more to it. And I think we can't, make it as easy for ourselves all the time. But quickly talking about yesterday's game. I presume when you saw the lineup, you didn't have much of a problem with it. My only confusion at the start was because Chelsea wrote it down with Aspie right centre back, Reece James right wing back. It was the other way around again. Aside from that, it was probably pretty much as expected, aside from maybe Kante not being on the bench. But aside from that, can't really complain about the lineup yesterday, can we?
No, especially since Kai Havertz was injured.
Not fit to start, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really expect him to start. So I guess we just had to, accept it and go what we had. It wasn't a bad lineup, but bad performance for sure. I guess we'll get onto it in a bit, but the Champions League final is just, man, that's really worrying me. Like, the amount of cutbacks and stuff. Like, there was one where Werner tried to volley it. Like, if there was, it was a cutback from Chilwell and it was an easy finish and he scuffed it. And it's just like, if that happens in the Champions League,
I swear he didn't even just scuff it. I think he just didn't hit the ball at all.
Yeah, pretty much. Just didn't connect with it. And it's just like, man, if we had a clinical finisher there, that's 1-0. You had the Mount chance, which I don't know how he missed. It's just completely different games. Tuchel's right. We did have a lot of touch in the box and it could have been a different game. It's just our forwards can't finish. So, thanks to them, we might lose the Champions League final, but we'll see. Hopefully, if there's one night the forwards turn up, hopefully it's that night. Just praying, more hope than anything really. But yeah, just annoying yesterday. Again, story of our season happening on the Lampard as well. Getting attacks, thought it was all over Villa, for the first sort of 30 minutes in the first half. Really, Villa didn't really do much apart from when we lost possession and, to our own individual mistakes, but we was all over them and we didn't come out with a goal, until the end. So, yeah, similar story. We've got to make it count at the weekend, man, because, it's not good. And hopefully we'll address it in the summer market as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a weird one. But I also will say this. I feel like it's always a sign of how good of a team you are in terms of how easy the chances for your players are. Because I feel like someone like City, especially when they're on it, just the fact that Sterling has had so many goals over the last few years, less so this season, fair enough, but over the last few years, 90% of Sterling's chances are tap-ins in the 6-yard box. We pretty much never have that. The only one I can think of like that is literally Werner's goal against Real Madrid. We never have that. I know the Mount one, you say, how did he miss? But I still feel like, and this is no criticism of Aspie at all, but the cutback just a tiny bit goes away from Mount, and that's why he has to snatch at it rather than properly control finish. And that's just, in my opinion, the difference why over a season we're not where City are, because those types of passes are half a yard, a few inches, or a yard off. And that's the big reason, because obviously you want to have a striker that scores these types of things as well. But even the best strikers in the world won't score enough to win you a league that way. You need to make super easy chances for loads of different players in the front line, not just your defenders like Chilwell for us, right? Or Alonso, or every now and again an Aspie. You know what I mean? But City they have just tap-ins for Gundogan, for De Bruyne, for Foden, for Ferran Torres, for all of these players. They have just tap-in after tap-in after tap-in, usually. And we never have that. And that's, I think, the biggest reason. You could think of it in a way where everyone sits back against us. Yeah, but they do that against City and still they find a way. And that's, on the one hand, the most impressive thing about them and the most frustrating thing about us, that I feel like we've gotten to a point with how stupid our finishing has become that we now claim every chance that we have as this huge sitter. Because even the Werner volley that he misses, and this is no excuse for Werner at all, but chances are he probably hits it against one of the defenders in front of him because there was about 3 defenders in front of him. So even if he connects, chances are he gets deflected wide anyway. Or probably another handball that should be a penalty but isn't. To be honest, actually, there was a handball that should have been a penalty but wasn't when he missed it because it hit the defenders next to him arm like that right there, even though he had his arm up like that. So again, I don't know how his referees not giving penalties. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I honestly don't know what the real solution is. Obviously, he was kind of forced into it by the fact that Havertz wasn't fit to start. But I just don't like this Werner up front thing against low blocks. Like, it just doesn't work, and I don't really understand why we've been doing it for so long. Sure, Giroud doesn't work either. Sure, he doesn't seem to like Tammy, but then find a different solution. Don't just go with Werner because we know that doesn't work. So I don't get that. Obviously, he kind of plays it as half of a front two with Werner and Pulisic anyway, but that doesn't work either. So, do you know what I mean? I know I went on a bit of a ramble there, but you know where my frustrations come from, mate.
Yes, it's completely true. Like you mentioned Giroud actually yesterday, I thought was pretty much how the game was playing out was pretty much the perfect game for him because we wasn't counter-attacking. We had the whole ball and we was literally just playing it down the flanks and putting balls and cutbacks in. I was just like, if there's one player that can head the ball or finish a cutback, it's Giroud. He has a great record against Aston Villa. Like, why not just bring him on at half time? We don't need to counter-attack Aston Villa. We can, simply just put balls in the box. And then I had someone reply to me saying, yeah, well, when Giroud comes on, we don't cross. And I was like, yeah, that's true. That's probably why Tuchel doesn't play him because we don't use his strengths anyway. So it's half down to the players and half down to the manager, I think. Like, I would like to see him play a bit more, but obviously there's only one game left now, and he's definitely not going to start Giroud in the final, I don't think. So, yeah, that was my main takeaway from yesterday was Giroud, man. I really wanted to see him come on because of the game, the way the game was going. It was just suited down to a T for him, like with the crosses, the low crosses, the cutbacks. I'm sure he would have scored 1 or 2. Like, I'm completely sure of it.
No, 100%. And as you can see, guys, we are joined by Mr. Carefree Lewis. First of all, Lewis, how you been? It's been a minute. How was the last 24? And I'll get to your comments in a second, Pies. How was the last 24 hours, I suppose, for you? Weirdest day in a long time, eh? Dreadful performance, dreadful result, but somehow Spurs bailed us out.
Yeah, we're in the top 4. Somehow. Like, I don't know how to say how we've done. I don't even think we deserve it, if I'm being honest. But we're here, I guess. We're shameless, so we'll take it and run with it. But I'm not shameless enough to give Tottenham any credit for it. They only did it so they didn't have to endure the embarrassment of the St. Tottenham's Day. They didn't do it for us, so I don't even care about them doing it. Leicester City out-bottled us. That's the way it is. We, by all intents and purposes, should not be in the top 4. We should be sitting there raging about the fact that we bottled top 4 with the last game of the season. But we aren't in that situation, so thank God, I guess. But it ain't because of the players. I'll give Tuchel credit, but I'm not giving the players any credit because they did their best to make sure we didn't get top 4 with the way the end of the season's been moving. So I'm just happy we're in the top 4, I guess. But that's the only positivity I have by now. Other than that, it's just a bit weak, to be honest. Like, there's nothing to it.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. And, all of us have our opinions about Rory, but hey, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but he's mad strong case for against Brendan Rodgers many times, and Brendan Rodgers keeps proving him right.
What's Rory been saying?
He's basically said Brendan Rodgers is the definition of Mr. Bottle Job, and Brendan Rodgers just keeps proving that right. Bottled it with Liverpool, bottled it last year, bottled it again now. I mean, not in the cup.
It is on Rodgers as well. Like, if you watch the Leicester game, if they don't sit deep for the last 10 minutes for no reason and just play the same brand of football that they've been doing the entire game, they probably win it. But then they sit deep, they invite more pressure onto themselves. You can't really advocate for a Schmeichel own goal. I mean, it is what it is. It's a huge pain for him. But if you keep to the game plan, you won't be in that situation, in my opinion. But they let the game get into their heads, and they should have just kept to the same game plan, in my opinion.
No, 100%. I agree. And just to get back to Pice's point that he just made, that he would have loved to see Giroud come on yesterday at halftime, or at least early in the second half. Obviously, that would have meant we would have made 2 halftime subs. Always unlikely. So I suppose at least early in the second half. But and like someone rightfully said to Pice on Twitter, but when Giroud is on, we don't cross anyway, so it's pointless. And that's true. But I think I also have an explanation for this. The fact that with Giroud on the pitch, we play so differently because he is such a different player up front that we don't actually get the ball into positions from where we could cross. But that's because he's a different player in the central area, high up the pitch, who doesn't lay the balls off like Havertz does, or even like Werner and Pulisic do in those areas. And then we never get it out wide into areas where we could cross it back to Giroud. So that's weirdly been the same type of problem for already under Sarri and under Frank. Remember, even under Sarri, when Giroud came on for Higuain or Morata, and we literally were like, oh, we'll keep crossing, but we can't get the ball in, especially when Morata, obviously, his form got poor and he couldn't even win headers anymore. And we was all craving, bring Giroud, and at least one of these crosses might go in the end. And the second he was on, we stopped crossing. And
I think the thing with that as well is whenever Giroud comes on, we go from having no focal point to just one. And then it's like, okay, so we have someone we can whip headers to, but that's just an easier target for the defenders too. Like Tyrone Mings, he had the easiest job yesterday, just sweeping out crosses all game. Like we made it easy for him. But I think with Giroud, he'd have a bit more of a test. But same way, I wouldn't really be surprised if Giroud struggled too, because he's the only guy in there to try and take those crosses. No one's really going to bother marking anyone else. They're going to focus on Giroud. So your only real bet is if you bring Giroud on and you target someone further wide with the crosses, because then Giroud can take two players out of position. We've seen that work with Pulisic a few times last season.
True. That is true. But again, for me, obviously it's made it difficult for Giroud if he is in that position, but I still feel like we just don't cross it enough anyway once he's there. So it kind of becomes a little bit pointless. I don't know. It's such a weird one. And yesterday's game was just... I don't see the weird thing is obviously we had a lot of poor performances, but aside from the finishing, like myself and Pies talked about before you joined, Lewis, it's like we again win all of the important stats. We win the balls back. We have touches in the box. We have more shots. We have more shots on target. We have more corners. We barely concede any chances either, and somehow we end up losing the game. And it just keeps on happening. So it's not even a case of our players aren't motivated. It's not like they didn't try. It's just that they're not good enough sometimes. And this sometimes sadly happened too many times the last few weeks, because it doesn't sound good when I tell you that we lost 3 of our last 4 games. It doesn't sound great, does it? It really doesn't. So, it's just a weird situation to be in. But at the end of the day, I still have hope for the Champions League final. And I still have hope for next season that Tuchel can fix these things, also depending on who we sign. But essentially, we have the same problems all over again. You get a new manager, things click for a while, and then the longer that starts happening, the more the frailties that we have become more and more and more apparent, and then we look the same kind of almost useless as we did before. Obviously, it was way more extreme by the end under Frank than it is right now. I'm not even trying to compare it, but I'm saying the trend is always the same. You get Kante in, great first season, but even towards the end of that season, it started to really tail out. But we were just in such a grind and such a flow that we just can't manage to grind results out. Second season was shocking, aside from the FA Cup victory, right? You have Sarri's season, that was kind of great for the first 3 months, dreadful after that, plus the Europa League at the end, right? And then Frank's season, well, I mean, last season was just weird, but in the end, a good season. Obviously, we got top 4. FA Cup was disappointing in the final, but still. And then this season starts great.
It was good. That was
exactly. And this season, I mean, like I said, we were top at December 5th, and then within 2 months, everything went absolutely to the worst it could possibly have gone. In just 2 months. It's ridiculous how quickly things change at our club. It's insane. And I'm not even trying to say we're now as bad as we were in December, January. I'm not at all. But I'm saying it's something that needs to be fixed. And I'm hoping that someone as good as Tuchel can fix it. But do you think he can, Pies? Or do you even disagree with that it's that we're already seeing reoccurring problems?
I think we are a little bit. I mean, a lot is down to the group of players. I mean, we need to get rid of a lot of players. I think. I always talk about the mentality of some of the players. Like, who's really willing to fight through tough times? Like we've even seen under Tuchel 2 games now, Leicester in the cup final and this Villa game, 2 important games with pressure on us. Like, what happened? Like, we really just did capitulate. Like, it's just worrying for the cup final. Like, have they got enough bottle in them? Have they got enough fight in them because I don't doubt the ability. Like even our goal against Aston Villa was really nice, link up play, ball in the box, easy goal. Like it can be really easy. We've got a lot of ability. It's just, have they got enough fight? Can we outwork? Can we outfight teams? I'm not sure. I don't know if we've got those personalities. I think we've got a few, but I don't think we've got enough. Like, and this is the point I see. Like I see a lot of people advocate for Declan Rice. Like, even though the price is high, I can totally understand it because, a phrase that's used a lot is, he loves Chelsea. Like, a lot of that annoys me, but at the same time, I can see like in those tough times, like in the tough games, like 70, 80 minutes when, we're down, who's really going to fight back for us? Like, I don't see enough proper characters in this team, if you get what I mean. Like, I don't know, especially when we concede first, can we come from behind? Can we fight back? Evidence suggests not, and that's why the Champions League final is so worrying for me because, if we don't get that first goal, how are we going to react? City are a lot stronger than Leicester and Aston Villa. So that's the most worrying thing for me is, if we don't get the first goal, is what's going to happen? Are they going to bottle it, capitulate like we've seen in the last two important games?
It's a tough one, really, because if I think about players that will, I don't know, fight or whatever through it, and I look at the squad, I do see a lot that will, but when it actually comes to it, not enough. Like, but I'm not even. See, I'm not sure. In a game like yesterday, did I feel like, we're not fighting hard enough? Did I feel like that was the problem? Not really. I mean, maybe you did, Pies, but I don't know if it's as simple as that. Like, Rudiger will, for me. Thiago Silva will, regardless of which team it is, because he always wants to win. Reece James will. Aspie will, even though, Jesters has somewhat disagreed here. And I know his red card was stupid yesterday, but still, he's still a fire for us, right? Yeah, you can make a case none of the midfielders are, maybe. Sure, maybe you can make that case if you want to be a bit harsh. I think Chile will. Like I said, whichever of Reece and Aspie plays right wing back. Mount will. Okay, then you're starting to run out. But that's still more than half of the team that I've just named there. Do you know what I mean? And, like, do you feel like City will have more than that? I feel like no way. Do you know what I mean?
To be honest, some of those names you mentioned there, like when going gets tough, I mean, Chilwell and Aspie, I still have my doubts about them too, to be honest with you. The back, I agree. Rudiger and Silva, I definitely think are leaders. In midfield is a tough one because, like, Tuchel has said, like, Kovacic will run through brick walls, and Jorginho is obviously the vice captain, but they did really, have a bad game yesterday. But for sure, I'm still supporting them. But it's just hard. Like, the thing is, it's been a constant theme. Like, whenever we go behind, can we fight back? That's the problem. I don't have a problem when we go in front. It's, is it just? I don't know. I don't know what the problem is.
Can we fight back?
Yeah, man.
We can't because we're so shit in the final third.
But it's the mentality as well. Like, do they? I don't know. In some games, like the Leicester game, we only really tried to score in like the 80th minute. Like, like what is that all about? Like, I don't know. It's just weird. It's weird.
Yeah, but I think that's only because we went a goal down. Because both teams were defensively minded in that game. That's why it was such a bore fest until Tielemans scored. Both teams were defensive.
You look at, like, I'm not making a comparison to this in the cup final, but the one game where I thought, like, these guys are on it was the Palace away game. You saw from minute one, as soon as we came out, we was like,
and the league game against Leicester as well.
Yeah, those two, bro. We was like, no one could stop us. Like, this was our game. No one's beaten us this game. Like, but why couldn't they have that for the cup final? Why were we so lax against Leicester? And Villa yesterday.
Do you think it's with our formation? Because we have a defensive-minded formation, and we don't mind because our defense is solid as a result. But it comes at the cost of our attack.
Maybe.
We only have 3 attacking players in our team.
Yeah, but at the same time, we do have a lot of the ball. And it's like, with our wing-backs as well, they get forward so much. It's like, we almost have 5 attackers when we go forward, depending on who you play wing-backs.
Yeah, but when you're whipping crosses in with the wing-backs, it's a bit pointless. That's the thing. Like, I was looking at the whole game and I was screaming yesterday, why the fuck are we crossing so much? Because what's the point?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
So I get what you're saying, where they're still attacking players, but they don't really have a point if there's no focal point in the middle for them to whip balls into.
And
I don't even think it's just about focal point. I think just players capable of dealing with oncoming crosses. Like, Aguero, he's short, he's not a focal point as such. The man scored hundreds of volleys, hundreds of headers, not headers like Giroud type headers, but still headers. He knows how to get on the end of a cross. Werner doesn't. Pulisic kind of does at the far post, but seemingly only when he plays on the left. As soon as he's on the right, he doesn't even want to get anywhere near the box, it feels like. And Mount, well, he's not really that type of player to get into the box to be on the end of a cross. He's more at the edge of the box to get a ball there, right? So for me, it's like Lewis has a little bit of a point in terms of the formation. It's 100% part of it. But I feel like because we use the wing-back so much, we need different types of players in the middle to make use of having wing-backs, if that makes sense. And just because Jess has made a very interesting and slightly controversial shout, I would like your opinion. Let me start with you, Lewis. But Jester says here, if we are saying the mentality has been like this for the last, say, 3 years, and the only constant is who is the captain, then shouldn't the captain be changed?
The last 3 years, I wouldn't really say it's a mentality. Like, I use the Europa League as an example, and granted, it's the Europa League. You should be dominating it, but it's not really as easy as it's made out to be, and at least the teams that have been in it have proven that. I think our mentality for the Europa League was really good in terms of the fact that we took it seriously, dominated everybody, and walked off with the trophy like it was easy. That's a strong mentality. You've got Arsenal, Spurs, Leicester City, Manchester United, who have all struggled in that competition. United are in the final, they're not even that confident for it. Us, we'd walk through it. We wouldn't care. That's where the mentality is there. I think with us, we're looking at the FA Cup finals. One of them heavy Anthony Taylor.
Because I agree with you. But I feel like as soon as we go a goal down and we don't immediately get one back, aside from the City game maybe, but because we were underdogs in that, we weren't so almost...
But that's not mentality. That's a dead attack.
Yeah, but we're always fine when we don't concede first. Then we always win.
Yeah, but that's because our defense is solid. Like, we can hold the lead.
You know what it is, right? It's like, as Laurenz said, say we score at first in the Champions League final. I know the player's reaction, right, is going to be like, this is life or death. Like, we're going to defend for our lives, like, but we're going to also play on the ball. We're going to try and score again. But I know everyone is going to be like bang at it, switched on if we score first. But I also know if we concede first, I know that it's going to take us probably, depending on when we concede, but I don't see that same reaction, that same, thing in the players' minds, because it's very easy to tell when you're watching if they're at it or not. Like, Laurenz, what was the game? I think I messaged you the FA Cup final. I messaged you at half time. It was 0-0, right? And I was like, we're not at it. I don't think we're going to win. And everyone was like, well, just calm down. It's only half time. But with Chelsea, it's just so easy. Like, I just don't see. It's not just the attack. It's not the midfield. It's the defense. It's the whole unit. Like, when we concede first or we're just not at it, no one stands out. That's the problem. Like, and that's why Mount got so much credit for under Lampard, is because he was the one that no one was good in terms of stand out, but at least he tried. You know what I mean? Like, it was always very awkward. Like, I don't know, man. I just think it is the mentality in terms of when we fall behind, we don't have enough fight and enough concentration and is it? I guess it's belief as well that we can come from behind and fight back. Like, I just don't see that in the team. I really don't, and that comes down to the whole group of players we've got. That really does. That's all you can explain it to.
It's weird, isn't it? Because, like I said, we had that league game against City where we did go behind and we did turn it around. So you'd think, because fair enough, until then, under Tuchel, we haven't really experienced going behind much, right? So fair enough, maybe they're unsure, okay, what happens now? But because they did it against City, it's weird that against Arsenal we couldn't do it. And against Leicester we couldn't do it. And against Villa we couldn't do it. But at the same time, yesterday, while we were bad, if just the finishing was better, we probably still win the game late on, as stupid as that sounds. And that's same is the game at the Emirates at Arsenal. It's the same thing. If Jorginho doesn't miss his penalty, we probably get a 3-3 draw, if not win that game out of it at the end. And that's the weird thing where it's like part of it is mentality and the other part of it is just, well, I don't know. It's just weird. 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 It's just getting unfortunate, but also not being good enough in the important moments. And just because I highlighted the super chat here already, just to quickly get on the whole captain thing that Jester said. I think as long as Aspie's in the squad, even if you take the captaincy away from him, which he doesn't deserve to be stripped of it, because that's a harsh thing to be done to. So unless he gives it up, which he never would. But even theoretically, if he was taking the captaincy off him, the rest of the players still see him as the captain. So nothing would change until he isn't in the squad anymore. Because he would still be the captain per se, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? And that's my view of it, if you will. And would I feel more confident in the whole leadership situation if we didn't have Aspie? No. So, I mean, that's that. But we have a super chat here, which I appreciate. Of course, guys, if you want to get involved, like Kahinda here, and share your thoughts, please do use the super chat function. It's always massively appreciated. And of course, supports the channel a lot. But he says, Tuchel freezing out Tammy has cost us these last few games. If he was integrated into the squad, we would have had better results, no question. Now, before I get to you guys, I will just quickly give my answer on it. While I think you could be right, there is, in truth, no way of you actually knowing whether you're right. Because the funny thing about someone not playing is you can always say, oh, I would have been better with him. But that's what we said whenever Tammy did play, was so many fans said, oh, I wish he didn't play, then we would have won. So who's to say if Tammy did play, it wouldn't have been the exact way around. We're like, if only Kai played, or if only Timo played, or if only Giroud played. But now because Tammy didn't play, we say it's because Tammy didn't play. Do you see where I'm coming from? Do you agree with that, Pys?
Spot on. Like, couldn't have said it any better. Like, genuinely, it's just we've had a scoring problem. So, you know, who's out of the squad at the moment? It's a striker. So naturally, the fans think, Tammy's the answer. Well, Tuchel clearly doesn't think so. And obviously, whenever he has played, the 2 times he started, I think he got subbed off at half time. Yeah, sure, maybe Tammy would have scored in some of, maybe Tammy would have scored the first goal, the cutback that Werner missed yesterday. But we don't know. It's just based off, I don't know a word where you could say, it's almost like just revisiting old memories. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, I don't know. It's like it's like blind hope, and they've come to the conclusion that Tammy would fix all these and we'd win more games just because he's out the squad. There's no like actual evidence for that. You know what I mean? That because there's been times where Tammy has missed sitters. Like I've seen compilations of Tammy missing sitters, like I've seen compilations of Werner missing sitters. So although Tammy got a lot of goals last season, he also missed a lot of chances. So it's like, do you trust Tammy? Would you have trusted Tammy in all these games over like a Kai or a Werner? It's easy to say yes now that we've struggled, but you never know in that moment. And that's where I agree with you. It's like, you just don't know, do you? Unless he's on the pitch. It's like, people could very quickly turn on Tammy and say, oh, well, actually, Tuchel was right. You should have started Kai or Werner. So it's very easy to say now that, it's cost us Tuchel freezing out Tammy, but, we would have won more games with him. But at the same time, where's the evidence? Where's the facts for that? Because whenever he has played under Tuchel, he's not been that good, has he? So, there's not really much logic going off that, to be honest.
No, it's a tough one. Lewis, how do you see it? Do you think freezing out Tammy is part of the reason why we didn't get better results out of the last few games? Or do you think that's just because he didn't play, that's why we say if he played, it would have been good?
People saying Tammy Abraham would have had a change in that game yesterday where we were whipping in crosses all game. Well, what's he going to do? Werner didn't do anything. Tammy wouldn't have done anything either. I like Tammy. His game is way too raw, but there's a good player in there with a lot of potential. But he's not Chelsea quality yet. I hate seeing Werner miss a chance. The first thing people say is, oh, Tammy would have scored that. I've allowed the agenda, man. Both of them have had their problems this season, but it's clear Tammy's all-round game is so much worse than Timo Werner's is. So I don't get why we keep doing this comparison thing just because Tammy isn't playing. We've seen Tammy play. We've seen how frustrating he can be too. So he ain't the answer to our problems either. Maybe even Timo isn't the answer to our problems. But that means neither of them are. None of this Tammy would have scored that BS. Like it would have even happened. I don't get this comparison. It's just an extra way to slag off Timo Werner, in my opinion. And I get if you don't rate him, it's fine. After this season, I don't really blame you either. for me, next season's the big one. I'm not giving him as many excuses next season. He has to pattern up quick. But for now, I've seen Tammy for 2 seasons. I've seen his all-round game hasn't improved for 2 seasons either. He needs a loan deal. He needs more game time, and he needs to go and develop at another club, not at Chelsea. So for me, blaming Tammy not being in the squad for our recent results is silly to me. I don't see it.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. Kahida has basically replied to our comments with another super chat. Appreciate it a lot, as always. Saying Tammy has the least big chances missed out of all our strikers this season, and he is tied with Werner on goals in the Premier League, and actually overall.
Laurenz,
it's just
it like
Tammy didn't spend half the season in left wing, though.
Yeah, sorry, I will, because that's what I wanted to get to, and I'll let you say your piece in a second, Pies. Because for me, when I say I would have liked to see Tammy more, for me, that's not even a case of instead of Werner necessarily, because I just don't want Werner to be the striker against the low block. Against the City, against the Liverpool, I like that. I think that works. But in a game like yesterday, I'm not saying don't play Werner, but I'm saying don't play him up front by himself. That's what I didn't like. And because Giroud is just too slow and too old, the only other option are Kai and Tammy. And because Kai wasn't fit, maybe Tammy would have been a useful option here. And like the stats, they say something, right? I've brought it up here. Shout out to CFC Daily. Because we also want to do a little bit of a Premier League season review. Like our top goal scorer this season has been Jorginho with 7 goals. All 7 have been penalties. And he's missed 2. So arguably he should be on 9, right? Then we have 3 tied with Abraham, Mount and Timo Werner on 6 goals. And the amount of minutes compared to Werner and Tammy's played is ridiculous. The fact that they ended up on 6 goals each, whether you're on the left wing or not, only matters so much. You know what I mean? Like he's still... Where is it now? I'll get the stats up in a second because I think he tweeted it as well in terms of big chances missed and stuff. And Zuma with 5 is arguably more depressing than Jorginho with 7 because at least he got that with penalties. So that's somewhat explainable. Just that is ridiculous. And you have the assists. Werner's done great. Chile and Mount have done good, even though 4 of those assists from Mount have come from corners, or free kicks. But still, and you see the games down here. Tammy ain't anywhere near here. 6 goals in 35 games isn't a good look for Werner. Even if it's 14 goal contributions with the assist, it's still not that great.
Yeah.
So you can make a little bit of a case. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not saying that would have been the only thing, but I still do believe that Tammy deserved a little bit more of a chance on Tuchel. But then again, we don't know what happened on the training pitch. We don't know if he started sulking, if he started not training hard enough because he was upset about him playing. And that's not the attitude you can have at a club as big as Chelsea. It just doesn't work like that. And if that was part of the problem, it's not good enough, if that makes sense. But Pies, I know you were trying to say something before I started talking. What was that?
No, I was just basically going to make the reference. It's kind of like what happened with Lampard and Tomori, right? Like Lewis was saying, Tammy Abraham is clearly not Chelsea level yet. So it's kind of like the same situation with Tomori. Like when he came out of the squad and Lampard froze him out, and we had those defensive issues, everyone was like, bring Tomori back in. Same with Tuchel and Tammy now. We're having goal scoring issues and everyone's saying, bring Tammy back in. Tammy should have played more. Like, you can say that, but sometimes you just have to park your favourites to the side and just realise that maybe they aren't Chelsea level yet. Like Tomori's gone out on loan and he's improved so much, but Tomori was so inconsistent for Chelsea. Let's not forget that. Like he had dips like Tammy. So it's similar situations for me. But the fans have
inconsistent at Milan too. I just want to add that.
Yeah, sure, but he's definitely improved from his time at Chelsea, like in terms of defending, and maybe that's what Tammy needs. Maybe if we don't sell him, maybe he needs to go on a loan. You know what I mean, or to play consistently, but also, if he can perform consistently, game in, game out, then you can come back to Chelsea and start, getting more game time and stuff. But the problem is now is whenever Tammy does come in, he doesn't ever make a case of, right, he has to start next game. It's not like that. It's not like he's come in and been like, wow, yeah, he's miles ahead of Havertz, Werner, or whoever else we play up front. It's just not the case. So you can't just blame it on Tuchel for leaving him out the squad, because evidence lies that Tammy hasn't been good enough anyway to replace those. So it's a hard one, but sometimes you just have to park your favourites to the side. Like, simple as that for me.
I mean, that is fair. Although, when was Tammy's last start? I swear it was Barnsley in the Cup.
Yes.
And he did score the winner and made a match decisive goal line clearance in that game. It was by far he was actually the only player we had that day, aside from Kepa, that was any sort of acceptable. And that included Kante and Billy Gilmore and everyone else that played. Everyone was dreadful, aside from Tammy and Kepa. So, you're not wrong with what you said, Pies, but I do still, to some extent, think, I mean, his last game was Barnsley, and he was our best player that day. So can you say, whenever he's got the chance, like off the bench?
But Barnsley's one of those teams where it's like, if you play poorly, it's a massive howler. If you play well, it's your job. Like, I can't really give people that much credit for a good performance against Barnsley, innit? Like, I'm happy you played well and everything, but still don't really say too much to me. And his 400 minutes per goal is not Chelsea level. Werner needs to fix up too. If we thought that was Chelsea level, we wouldn't all be screaming for a number 9 too. You're correct, but they all are the problem in that case. And we need a number 9 that can bury chances. It's not Werner or Tammy. It's neither of them. That's the way I see it.
100%. And we do have to, again, shout out to CFC Daily. Big up him. A few more stats. How many times have players hit the woodwork? Werner 5 times, Mount 3 times, Alonso and Zuma twice.
Big up Alexis Kavkas as well. I see you, bro.
Is he in the chat?
Yeah, he's just in the chat. Kavkas for you.
I can't see it, but big up. There he is. Hit the like button. I appreciate it. Yeah, there you go. Big up Kavkas. Anyways, like, unfortunate for Werner. You will say that. Hitting the post, the woodwork is unlucky, right?
27 offsides. What the fuck?
27 offsides.
I thought it was more than that, Is that all competitions?
It's all competitions where he has like 40 something, yeah.
Bro,
yeah, 43 or something. Mad.
What is that, man? That's atrocious.
And I know people will say it's my agenda against Giroud, but the fact that Giroud has played as little as he has and he comes third in big chances missed is why I don't want Giroud to play ever. He's played, I swear, less than Tammy, and he's still in the top 3 of our big chances missed. That's an L. That's an L.
Laurenz, who's the one striker that can score us a clutch goal? It's always Giroud, man. So,
can he?
That's why I advocate for Giroud.
Look at it. 6. It says 6 in what game? What amount of games? What, 5? Like, at least Werner has this in 35 games. Do you know what I mean? Giroud's barely played more than 6 games.
The thing is, though, I can tolerate Giroud being annoying because I know he's still got the ability to score a clutch goal. That's why I have faith in him. I don't have faith in any of the others, and they haven't given me any sort of hope or evidence that they can. So,
yeah, but I feel like you only still have that faith because Giroud hasn't played more. And if he would have played more, we wouldn't have that faith in him anymore.
No, I genuinely think he would have scored yesterday. I think he would have scored against Arsenal. I think he would have scored in others as well. I genuinely do.
I know you genuinely think that, but I'm just giving my reason why I genuinely disagree.
I love Giroud, man. I love Giroud.
It's just that I don't know. But I mean, Kai has kind of been saved by Werner a little bit with his misses because Kai has had some howlers. But this one, I mean, Chile is almost as bad as Werner in that sense because he's literally the wing back. How can he be offside 8 times as a wing back? You literally have the whole line there to look at.
But here's the thing. 8 and 7 offsides, I don't even care too much. It's when you got 27. It's like, oh my god, that's ridiculous.
It is really bad. Like, it's really bad to have 27. Like, it's insane. But all this discussion really shows is that so many of them haven't been anywhere near good enough. Let me just, while I big screen us like that again, let me just see another one of these stats that he's posted here because, why not? It's enjoyable. Let me see that. Right, that's an interesting piece of stat. Why not? There he is. Pice is back. Lewis and me both tried to add him about 3 times.
Oh, that's what happened. My bad.
Yeah. It's all good. Another interesting just piece of stat, I suppose. Kante, 79 tackles. Mount, 75. Jorginho, 57. I guess somewhat as expected. I would have probably expected him to be in those areas. Although the fact that Kante has missed a lot of the season and still is number 1 there shows why Kante is as good as he is. Fouls, I presume this means given away, not won. Again, Mount is maybe a bit too much, but other than that, kind of as expected. Those ones, yeah. What can you say, really? Yellow cards, red cards, yeah. I mean, that wasn't necessary. That wasn't necessary. That wasn't necessary. Like, none of these red cards are like 85th minute, we're 1-0 up, you take one for the team, you bring someone down, and you make sure you still win the game when someone would be through on goal. They're all just stupid red cards, which is, to me...
Nah, Mane deserved it. Neat got bodied. Love to see it.
Yeah, but it was at half-time, bro, and we lost the game at 0-0.
Yeah, I can't lie. I can't keep the agenda on it. That was a dumbass red card. But I'll take it anyway because Mane deserves it. He's a little cheat every time we play. Every time he does something that pisses me off.
Exactly. Wait, let me bring up another stat here, which I thought was an interesting site here. Look, these stats, again, big up yourselves, EFC Daily. Big chances created, Mount 13, Werner 10, Ziyech 6. A bit of a sign, why doesn't Ziyech play a little bit more? Hasn't played a lot, because the fact that he's up in the top 3 here is not a good sign for some other players. That, again, with the through ball, same reason. The fact that we have 38 games played and a highest through ball stat is 7 is ridiculous. So that is no praise for Kovacic. That is criticism for everyone that they don't do it enough. And the crosses, I mean, yeah. But this one I don't like. Although, does that mean direct? I presume this must mean direct free kicks because of indirect free kicks we literally scored the other week with the Pulisic rebound of when Alonso hit the post. So, you know, I suppose that can't be 100% that. What is that? Last man tackles. Big up Hudson-Odoi. Who was that against? Wolves, wasn't it? In this, like, the first game.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Ziyech, Kovacic, Werner, Havertz, fair enough. Offensive players for the most part. Leading to goals.
Oh my God.
SNL, Kepa, SNL. And that one, yeah. Well, what can you say, really?
We've only got one for last man tackles.
Say that again.
We've only got one for last man tackles.
I suppose when you play a back three, it becomes more difficult to be the last man, doesn't it?
Yeah, I hear that for the back three, but when you're playing a back two, like, I thought Zuma would be big on that with his recovery tackles and everything.
To be fair, how isn't... I mean, maybe the stats are a bit off. How isn't Zuma on there just for the tackle against Man City?
Exactly.
Surely that should be at least
one. The recovery tackle. It's probably all he's good at, to be honest. That and heading.
Yeah, no, true. But still, just you remember the one against Sterling, right? So if that's not last man tackle, I don't know what is. So, and just to bring up this stat here, like I said, our top goal scorer has 7. Arsenal's 13, Villa 14, even bloody Brighton 8, Burnley 12, Palace 11. Like, it's not good. Who has less than us? Fulham has 5, Wolves has 5, and Sheffield United is just 1 more. Well, I'm Brighton, I suppose. But just 2 teams whose highest goal scorer have less goals than ours.
Mad.
Say again?
Outscored by Sheffield United and they finished 20th.
Yeah, Goldrick had 8.
Yeah.
And
how many against us? 2, was it?
Nah, just a 1 this season.
A tweet about that. It was like loads of players that you wouldn't expect to outscore us. They actually outscored our top scorer. It was mad. It was like McGoldrick, few others like Willock, who came in January, got 8 Premier League goals. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's honestly a shambles. And the last piece of stat I want to bring up here is the comparison of the 1920 and the 2021 season. Obviously, we only finished the season with 1 more point than last season. People brought up the stat yesterday. Oh, Tuchel has only got as many points as Lampard. I mean, first of all, physically impossible considering we finished in an uneven number. Secondly, actually, that might be possible. I don't know. But anyway, most importantly, Tuchel has less games. So the points per game ratio, Tuchel is still quite a bit higher than Frank. Regardless, we won a game less than last season. Not great. But at least we lost 3 less. So I suppose that's good. Goal difference was better. Goals conceded was by 11 better. Great. Goals scored was by 11 worse. And goals conceded is by 18 better. So that's good. That part's really good. Well, that part's an L. Like, the fact that Atalanta in the Serie A have scored 90 league goals. 90. And we've scored 58. Do you know how ridiculous that is? That they, in 38 games, a team like Atalanta, even though they're very attacking, but in terms of budget, right? They scored 32 more goals than we did It's the most ridiculous thing. Like our forwards need to fix the hell up, but quick. It's insane. It's insane the fact that we have these problems in the first place. It's honestly a bit of a madness. But just to quickly recap on the season a little bit, how do you kind of now, just the Premier League season, ignore what happened in the FA Cup and obviously what we did in the Champions League and what we might do next Saturday. How do you view the season, Lewis?
How do I view the season?
Yeah, the Premier League season.
We got like 1 point extra than we did last season, didn't we?
Yeah, exactly.
God knows, like, I don't know, because there's so many ups and downs with it. Unbeaten run under Lampard, unbeaten run under Tuchel, and a whole load of howlers in between the pair of them. Same old dead finishing, but at least we were better defensively than we were last season. Last season, we were an absolute joke. And at least in goal, we've been keeping more clean sheets. Big up Edouard Mendy. If it weren't Mount, he's our player of the season. As the season as a whole, though, I already said when I first came here, we shouldn't be in the top 4. The only reason why we're in here is because Leicester bottled it. So I don't know whether to be happy with this season or pissed off with this season, because I expect a better team next season too. But I said that last season we spent 250 million only to be a point ahead of what we did last season. So I'm not even content with it. It's just, that's the only way I can describe it.
Yeah, no, honestly,
been great.
No, it's not been great.
Arsenal did the double over us as well, just to add insult to injury. Like, fuck this, man. Season's been shite. Honestly, we better win the Champions League. That's the only way to turn this season around. Otherwise, it's been an embarrassment.
Maybe not embarrassment, because we did get top 4, but
we shouldn't have. Like, this is the most embarrassing end to top 4 I think we've ever had in the Abramovich era. We should not be in top 4. If Leicester City held their lead for 15 minutes, we wouldn't be talking about Champions League. The only thing we'd be saying is we have to win on Saturday, even if we didn't already have to win. But we had a dead season. Like, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. You've only been good defensively, and that's it.
And that's only been for the last 3 months.
Yeah, and that's only been under Tuchel. Actually, when we were in the back 4 and we had that unbeaten run under Lampard, we were pretty good defensively then too.
True.
Right.
But not like in terms of ridiculous amounts of clean sheets. Not quite as good, I suppose.
Yeah, just exactly. It's been a mid-season, absolutely mid.
Yeah.
Just thank God we're in 4th place. But it's papering over the cracks, that's it.
100%. It is really papering over the cracks. And at the same time, for me, you look at United coming second. First of all, like I said this yesterday already, it's an embarrassment to all the clubs behind them that we let a team as bad as Manchester United. And they're not good. Most Manchester United will be as honest to say they're not a good team. The fact that they have come second is the most embarrassing sign for the whole Premier League.
If we had any semblance of consistency over the last 5 weeks, we wouldn't even be talking about 4th, we'd be talking about 2nd. If we had beaten Arsenal, you would have got into the last game of the season a point behind them. But as usual, we didn't do our job. So people saying that I'm overreacting about the season, no, I'm not. The only way this season is a good season is if we win the Champions League. If we don't, it hasn't been a good season for us, and I don't want to hear people say it is. If it is, your standards are in the mud.
Yeah. If we lose the Champions League final, it's been an acceptable season because top 4 is the minimum we should expect from Chelsea.
Barely acceptable. Because not even that, we have done the same thing we did last season. A point is the difference. The same way it was last season. 1 point. That's not convincing.
Well, we're a point better than the season before.
No, as in we were a point off finishing 5th last season and we're a point off finishing 5th now. There's been no difference. Yeah. We haven't been convincing.
At least last season we won the last game to win it, which gave us a better feeling.
Yeah, at least we won our game, I guess, then. But again, there ain't been much of a difference between this season and last season other than we're in an extra final than we were before.
So, first of all, this cover by Jester is quite funny, but
that's the perfect way to describe it. I can't lie.
But that's also quite funny.
Of course, I'm going to care about Chelsea, innit? Like, carefree isn't me. Carefree's the name of one of our chants. I am not carefree. Come on, man.
Exactly, no, 100%. Obviously, you're not, and you shouldn't be either. But yeah, no, it's a good analogy by Jester here. Like, I see this like stepping in what you think is dog poo, but finding out it's chocolate ice cream. Either way, your shoes are a mess, and also you're like, who's wasted all this ice cream on the floor here? But Pice, what about you? Do you echo what Lewis said, or do you view it a little differently?
Pretty much, man. Like, yeah, I just expected so much more, especially when you spend that amount on attackers. Like, Werner expected way more goals. Havertz, I mean, yeah, definitely expected more, but did definitely play a wrong position under Lampard, so I give him a bit of leeway for that. But Ziyech, I expected way more consistency, way more creativity, I think. Way more goals as well. The goals have been really a letdown for me. And assists with Ziyech. I mean, he's got like, in the end of like 3 goals and like 4 assists in the Premier League. Like, that's nowhere near good enough. I was putting him, like right up there with one of our highest goals and assists, just because the output for Ajax was always good. He always took long shots, which he never does here either. He never really wants to shoot. Just looks a shadow of himself, really. And I just think overall, it's just been a pretty poor season, considering, like Lewis said, we should have finished 5th. Just no real improvements apart from the defence, which, let's be honest, is largely down to Tuchel and changing manager. So, yeah, going to be very interesting next season to see, when we do go back to the 4 at the back, as I'm pretty sure we will, whether it will last or whether we will end up going back to a 3 at the back, going back to our roots under Tuchel this season, because we can't defend. So we'll see. But hopefully we can defend in the 4 at the back, and hopefully the signings in the window will be better. People thought it couldn't have got much better last summer, but clearly, it could have done. So we need a reliable goal scorer up front. It's going to be hard because, no one wants to sell, and it's just, in general, it's going to cost a lot of money, but it's what we need first and foremost. And then, yeah, more of a physical DM is needed for me. Maybe a centre-back. And I think as well, if Ziyech leaves, I think a creator would be really nice. I've always wanted to see Sancho at Chelsea, but if not, I'm not opposed to see Hazard returning, but I know a lot of people are, just based off his injuries and stuff. But again, man, if it's a cut price or if it's a loan like Bale, I mean, why not? Why not take the risk? Better off him, coming back here than rotting at Real Madrid. So I don't know. There's a lot of things that need to be done, and a lot of things that will happen. But overall, yeah, pretty poor season, to be honest with you. Just expected a lot better, to be honest, man.
I did as well. And you brought up the possible formation change for next season. And Melinda said, yeah, backs 3 is exposed if you mirror the formation. And I've certainly echoed that statement under Kante, because that seemed to be the problem, especially in the second season. Everyone just knew how to deal with us. But I don't quite agree with it now, because yes, the last few games that seems that way, but we beat Tottenham, who played a back 3. We beat Man City in the second game. They played a back 3. We beat so many teams that played a back 3 against us, while Villa yesterday played a back 4. So I think there's way more to it than just opponents playing also back 3 is the problem. I think there's way more to that than just making it as simple as that. And I suppose now, lastly, for a couple of more things to discuss, I suppose, before we round it out here. And Pies, just put it in the private chat when you do need to go, because I know you said you don't have forever today. Eden Hazard. It's been the big topic of discussion over the last day. Sky Sports coming out with the fact that Real Madrid are ready to willing to listen to offers for Eden Hazard. Obviously, there have been a lot of people that are constantly going about, we bring Hazard back and he wants back. It's come out that apparently he would like to go back to Chelsea. Before I get your thoughts on that, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we still have over 320 people watching. Big up yourself for that. And I haven't even mentioned that so far today. So if you're new here, please be sure to subscribe. That'd be massively appreciated. We just hit 10K, but we're not stopping there. Let's get to 15K. So if you're new here, please be sure to subscribe. Be massively appreciated. Smash that like button, because I guarantee we don't have anywhere near enough likes. Let me see how many we have. We have currently, let it update, 93 likes, which is not bad, considering I've not told you to drop a like so far. But still, come on, guys. Let's get it to be honest, we could get 200 here. We have over 320 people. So go down below, smash the like button right now. It doesn't cost you any money, barely cost you any time, and you can just listen to us talk anyway. So please click the like button. Really appreciate it. And it helps me out a lot to push these videos out to more people. But let me go with you first, Lewis. What are your views on the whole should we bring Hazard home?
All depends on the money for me. You spend if he costs under 30, 40 mil at the most, I'd do it. Or if you can even get him on loan for a season. But for me, it's a high risk because he ain't the same Eden Hazard. But I think if you bring him in as depth and you don't bring him as a number 1 or a number 2 option, and you actually give him the time to properly heal up, and instead of rushing him back into the team like Zinedine Zidane's done for the majority of his time, I think there's still the chance you can get the old Eden Hazard back. But it's only if you're patient with him. That's why he doesn't come back as a starter for me. He comes back as a squad player. If you can bring him back as a squad player, it's a great option for me. If not, bit too risky, and I'd rather we focus on other options.
I agree, but for me, even 40 million is way too much. For me, 30 million is the very, very maximum. And that's only if you take such a high pay cut. And that's because obviously, and I've seen it on Twitter, and you mentioned it there as well, or even Pice a minute ago, the whole loan thing. But you got to be careful with loans because then they're officially still on their initial contract, right? And we know how much money Spurs are paying Bale every week. I'm not willing to pay Hazard anywhere near what he's earning at Real Madrid. And then Madrid would have to be willing to still pay some of his wages. He's on 500,000 euros a week there. Like, people talk about Haaland's demands of 600k a week are ridiculous. I'd much, much, much rather pay Haaland 600k a week than I'd pay Hazard 500k a week. Like, people talk about the wage structure and it ruins the mood in the squad. 500k for Hazard, who will play 5 games next season. Absolutely not. Like, no chance. No chance on earth. And I get the sentiment of it. And someone put a lot of people have put it really well. And someone in my Austrian Chelsea fan group chat said, Hazard wants to go back to the old times. And some fans want to go back to the old times. But we're not the Chelsea anymore that we were with him. And if he came back, it wouldn't be the same anymore. We've moved on without him. He hasn't because he didn't manage to keep himself fit over the summer. But we have moved on. And as much as I love him, that's his own problem. Like, you don't go back to your ex. It does go well. I know he did with Drogba, but Drogba was very different. You know, we wouldn't bring back Hazard on 30, 40 million, whatever it is, on super high wages. That's different to Drogba coming back on a free, on fairly low wages, considering who he was, and coming in knowing purely he would be an impact sub striker behind Diego Costa. Everyone knew he was coming in to do that job. Hazard, we don't bring Hazard back to put him on the bench if he's fit. Definitely not. Not on the wages he'd come in on, and not on the money we'd pay for him. Like, if people are talking about 40 million, right? 40 million would be not far off what we paid for Pulisic. Like, how can you justify that? Like, it's just, and I'm not saying Pulisic's better than Hazard. Well, right now he is, because at least he's able to play. But to be fair, Pulisic's injured half the time as well. But still, for me, even obviously Drogba was way older, but I'm just talking about in terms of you don't go back to your ex. That's what I mean. And we did that with Drogba, right? It's just, for me, it's an L if we bring Hazard back. For me, it's an L. The only way I see it as a good option is if it's a loan with an option to buy, and we only pay like half of his wages. And even half of his wages are too much, to be totally honest with you, because that's still 250k. So 220,000 pounds. That's still one of our highest earning players, right? So even that's way too much. So they'd have to pay like 2/3 of the wages and then a loan move. And then I'd maybe think about it. But so, you know, it's one of those. It's one of those. But Pice, I went on a bit of a rant there because it almost annoys me that people actually want him back, because I'm like, why? Think about things logically. Don't just think about sentiment.
But that's why it has to be under the special circumstances. He can't be a squad player. He has to take a pay cut, and it has to be on the cheap. If that happens, cool. I think as a squad player, it'd be a good option. If you don't get if you miss one of those 3 things, it's a problem.
But don't you think that Hazard, just because of who he is at Chelsea and just because of the name, if he comes in and is injured a lot, that's just a negative in the first place, even if it's for cheap, even if it's not on high wages. But
we don't play him enough. But we don't play him enough for him to be in that situation. Real Madrid want him to be a starter there. They've wanted him to be the starter the last 2 years.
We would, if Hazard would be able to be back fit, he would be a starter for us too, though.
If he had
So
the quality,
we would want to play him as well. That's the problem. If
but
we got
even
him back,
then,
Tuchel would want
if
to
he's
play
good
him.
enough to play, then that's not a problem in itself. And it's different from when he was at Chelsea, because when he was at Chelsea, he was Hazard FC. He will come and it won't be Hazard FC. I see the
I would be
reservation
worried that he
about
would
it
turn
because
back into that because of who he is, and it would.
no, we turned
take
back
the
into
club
it
backwards.
because our attack was even worse then than it is now. We had Barkley, Willian, Pedro, Higuain, Morata. You don't really have that anymore. We've got players who are still a bit of a problem, but they aren't that much of a problem compared to what we used to have. Like, I'd rather have Werner, Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi, Havertz, Giroud over Barkley, Willian, Pedro, Batshuayi, Morata. That was a shite attack. This isn't shite. It's just we need a finisher. That's it.
I don't know. I'm not for
It's
it.
a lot to
By the way,
think
I know
about,
you
innit?
said
It's very
some
risky,
stats-
so I don't blame you.
Yeah, no, I know. Like, it's all good. I know, Pice, you said you are seemingly more echoing what Lewis thinks about it rather than me, but how do you see the whole situation?
I mean, just if he wants to come back, I think get him on the cheap. Wages I don't really care about because I don't pay him anyway. I'd let the club sort that out. But to be honest, Lewis said he's a squad player. I think he's better than our attackers anyway. Still, so I think he probably would start.
See us play against them.
I don't take that into account. To be honest, I really don't. I still think Hazard's still got the star ability. I do. I just think
He does. It's just you gotta get him back to full fitness and confidence in his body first, because that's a bigger problem too. The mental issue with all of these injuries. He don't trust his body, so he's not fully confident.
And you guys think he will have that after going to the Euros with Belgium now and playing again and not having a rest again?
Well, the Euros will be a perfect test of what his real ability is like.
Laurenz, half the problem with Hazard is Real Madrid's medical team anyway. So let's see if he improves in the Euros in terms of fitness.
Well, when he was with us, it was always the problem when he went to Belgium. So it's not like that much better.
We'll see, won't we? Like, I just think, I don't know, man. I just think it's silly to write off Hazard. Like, I don't know. I don't think he's done yet. I really don't. I saw people say, like, I should go back to Liga and MLS. I'm like, really? Like, Eden Hazard? Like, people are talking about him like he's washed. Like, yeah, he's had a tough time, but it's still Hazard, man. He's still got...
It's been 2 years.
Bro,
the man scored like 7 goals in 2 years.
Care. Whenever I watch him, he's still got the
Yeah, but we never had Hazard for goals anyway.
Like, you know what I mean? I still think like he can solve some of our creativity issues. I really do. Like, he knows us here as well. Like, he just knows the team and club. Like, I just think he'll be better off here. I really do.
Oh, he would. I agree. He would be better off here. And like I said, I also agree. If it was for very cheap, I just think 40 million is too much. I think 30 million at the max, I accept. And I know what you're saying about the wages, but you have to, you have to think logically for me. And if you think about these wages, then you're not that far off a Sancho. And if you ask me right now, who would I rather have, Sancho or...
Oh, but Sancho is
the most injury-prone player, arguably in the world right now.
Bro, but Sancho is
Sancho.
Player. Sancho's another young talent that could just easily take a year anyway to adapt, like Kai Havertz has done. Like, Sancho's as much of a risk as Hazard is. Like, really is. You don't think it because Sancho's like on fire, but when you think about the league and what he's playing in, like it's the same thing. Havertz was absolutely smashing the Bundesliga. Like, Hudson-Odoi would go to the Bundesliga and smash that league. Like, we just don't know. It's a risk. Like, it's as much as risk as Hazard. He's not Prem proven, so we don't know. He's got talent, and so has Havertz. Havertz hasn't lighted things up. You just don't know. Sancho's also not the quickest. This league requires a lot of pace. We've seen with Ziyech. He's not the quickest, and he's struggled. So you just don't know. There's a lot of different variables to it.
I'm not saying Sancho would be my number one target either. I don't even really want Sancho that badly. I'm just saying if we want a winger, and I don't think a winger is what we need desperately, like, hey, if we end up signing a striker, a centre-back and a centre-mid and we have money left, all right, go sign a winger then. But, you know, fourth on the priority list for me. But for me, Hazard takes half a year, if not a season, to recover his Hazard anyway. Like, I think Madrid just destroyed the man. and I feel bad for him. But at the same time, hey, you get what you wish for. He wished for Madrid, and that's what he got. The grass is not always green on the other side, and that's what he had to learn the hard way. And obviously he helped us get certain players into the squad by giving us a lot of money in terms of the way he left, and he always handled everything perfectly. So I have not a single piece of bad blood towards Eden Hazard at all. I'm hoping it doesn't come across that way. I'm really not, but I'm just too worried that if he comes back, it just ruins the whole legacy, and it just wouldn't be good. I just can't bear, even because you can talk about medical staff, but sure, a little bit, 100%. But it's not like we have the best medical staff in the world either, considering Kante and Pulisic have been injured for 2 seasons straight, pretty much. So you can't make that case either. And Kante literally missed yesterday's game because he's injured again, right? You can't say our medical staff are the gods of the world. And for me, bringing Hazard back, the danger of him just being injured pretty much all season again, it will be such an L. Imagine the money, the effort, the hype, bringing him back, and then he's injured all season. Do you know what I mean? I know I sound harsh, I get that, but it's just. Also, by the way, we'd be costing ourselves money. You get that, right? Because obviously we haven't gotten all of the money from Madrid yet for clauses. If we get him back, those clauses are done for. So even if we pay 35 million or whatever, 30 million, because someone said Real Madrid are looking for 40 million euros, that's around 34 million pounds, sure. But we're also missing out on around 30 million euros that still possible to be left to be paid out in bonuses. So we're essentially almost paying 60 million. Of course, there is no guarantee those bonuses would ever be met. And I don't know what the clauses are if they would sell him to elsewhere. Would they then have to pay the bonuses if they sell him or not? I don't know, right? But still, essentially, we'd still be costing us extra money too. I don't know. It's a tough one. It is. Put it in the chat, guys. Just to make it easy, put a 1 if you think we should get Hazard back, as long as it's 34 million pounds or less, or do you put a 2 if you think we shouldn't, unless it's ridiculously cheap and his wages are very low. Just put it in a chat. I'll give you a second. But aside from that, is there any? People put. I see 2 1s so far. A 2, a 1, a 2, a 2. Well, it seems very mixed, but I don't really have such a big thing to discuss about the Champions League final already. Obviously, we're going to have streams coming up about that. But still, the last question I have for both of you guys now, and I'll start with you, Lewis. Usually, I'm always like, Prem season is always a bit sad almost, because, you have a summer break coming up and, we want Chelsea to be playing, right? But because of the Champions League final, I'm like, obviously we want the top 4, but I barely cared about what happened in the Prem. I just wanted to get to this Champions League final, and I've been nervous about it for a month, or since the day we qualified. I've been thinking about it, nervous about it, and that's all that matters, right? And what I'm slightly worried about is, our place whenever it's real big, it's not gone so well. I suppose, except in the Champions League, that's the only thing I have, because we did it against Atletico. We did it in the second leg against Porto, even though it was in the last second by a bit of a, nervy. And we did it against Real Madrid. So those are positive signs. But everything's so on the edge, and everything, like you said earlier, Lewis, the season is a shambles, or not a shambles, but nothing great if we don't win the Champions League. So how are you feeling ahead of that with almost a week in advance now?
Same way. Just win, please. I don't know who scores. I don't care who scores. I know we're capable of beating anybody in a one-on-one game, but that's the thing. We're also capable of dropping howlers in a one-on-one game. Kepa in goal, if that happens in the final, I'm worried for that one. But if that's the case, we just have to back Kepa. It's a Champions League final. You can't sit there and be against the 11 players that are on the pitch, especially in a game of that magnitude. You have to back them. Even if it's a case where he does a carry us, I can't get at someone if you flop on the big stage and something, because the way that will harm you emotionally and shit, I couldn't wish that on anybody. So if Kepa plays, please have a legacy game. I beg you, like for your own sake as well. Because even if he leaves, fine. If he leaves and he was instrumental in us winning the Europa League and had a factor in us winning the Champions League final, couldn't care less about the rest of his time at Chelsea. If he drops a legacy game, might even be worth the 70 million. You know what? He's justified his price tag. Fernando Torres style. Perfect. Just, please, like, I'm begging you, man, because if he drops a howler and I'm in Porto in that, I might not even come back. Like, the way they're fleecing us all for this, I can't be arsed with it. PCR tests are a load of wank.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they are. Just to clarify, because I said we would, Mendy is expected to be fit. It turns out he didn't break any ribs. He's only been bruised. Tuchel just said in the press conference today, no idea why they had a press conference today, but anyway, he said that there's even hope he comes back to training on Wednesday already. So there is good hope that he comes back. And it is fine for the final. Kante also expected to be back in training on Wednesday and should be fine for the final. But like Lewis said, if Kepa is to play, now first of all, back him. I don't want to see any slander before. If Tuchel says on Friday Mendy is not fit, I don't want to see any slander to Kepa. None. Mm-hmm. And also, a quick question before I give you the same question, Pys, and then the follow-up question as well. What do we do, Lewis, if Kepa starts the Champions League final and has an absolutely amazing game? Does that force us to keep it?
Nope.
Imagine Kepa wins us the Champions League. Do you know what I mean? Kepa
all Marina's wanted this season was to up his resale value. There you go. Exactly that. He can leave Chelsea with his head held high, and we can leave Kepa with good memories of him. If he drops a legacy performance in the Champions League final, we will take that, happily part ways, and we can leave with Kepa on a good note. And he leaves as a cult hero. It is what it is. But regardless of the situation, he ain't our number one keeper. Just leave on a high, please. I want him to leave on a good note because 18-19 Kepa I loved. I really, especially after having that rat Thibaut Courtois snake us out, we had Kepa drop that season. It was amazing. But the drop-off has just been a massive exposed session. So, no, I don't want him regardless of the performance he drops, but leave on a high. This is the best way for him to leave on a good note if Mendy isn't fit. So, just take the opportunity and drop the legacy performance, please.
No, I 100% agree. We do need a goalkeeper if Kepa leaves because Mendy will be gone for a month and a half or whatever.
That's another reason why I get a second keeper because I still don't want Kepa for a month. I can't lie.
No, exactly. But Pys, both questions to you. First of all, how do you feel ahead of the final now that the league is done and stuff? And also, do you agree with Lewis in terms of if Kepa plays and has like a check performance in the Champions League final and basically wins us the thing? Does he still need to go?
First off, I mean, you guys can call me negative all you want, but I've said all along I think we're going to get slapped against City. I really do. I think Pep rarely ever loses finals.
Oh, please. Please,
I'm sorry, bro.
Please,
sorry. Please prove me wrong, Chelsea. But from what I've seen, especially when the pressure's on, like, I don't know, man. I just feel like we're going to lose. But hopefully me being negative turns into a positive and then they, drop a masterclass. Like, I beg. I'm on my knees, like, please. But, yeah, I just don't have it.
Man.
I'm begging, like, just one game, like, score 2 early goals, just sit back, score an early goal, whatever you need to do. Just, I don't know. But from what I see, I have really little hope. But anyway, in terms of the Kepa thing, yeah, I mean, the thing is with Kepa, if he does drop a masterclass and he plays, like, I'm sure the club will probably want to keep him just because, like, they'll think, oh, Kepa's got this potential again. But I do agree with Lewis. I'd like cult hero, part ways, leave on a good note.
No, not even. If he wins us the Champions League, he's a legend. Like, we say everyone in Munich is a legend. Then Kepa's a legend.
I want him to get to penalties and he does that save that he did in Frankfurt. Because I can't. That was an iconic moment in itself from Kepa. But if you do that in the Champions League, yeah, make him a statue. I don't give a shit.
Imagine Kepa leaves and he has won 2 European Cups at Chelsea. I know one was the Europa League, but still.
Please, I want that timeline. I really want that. Why are we now advocating for Kepa in goal? I can't be asked. But yeah, I'd like that timeline still.
Pys, go on. What were you saying?
No, I was just going to say, like, on the legend thing, these players need to realise, like, if you turn up, if you deliver a big moment, you have an opportunity to be forever remembered in our history. No matter what your time has been like. You know what I mean? Like, you could be a new player, you still cement yourself. Like, you could be an old player. You can be like Kepa, like as Lewis said, who's had a pretty terrible time here. But that one game, it's the Champions League final. Like, this is it. You can easily erase all the bad memories by this one game. So the players need to get that in their heads and realise that if they don't already. Because, to be honest with you, FA Cup final was similar. Not the same level as Champions League. Still a final. Still, you get remembered if you turn up. None of them turned up. So let's see.
Let's see. I mean, hey, you know, imagine how Twitter looks if Jorginho scores the winning penalty, Werner scores a goal, and Kepa has a masterclass. Chelsea Twitter will have a meltdown. Chelsea Twitter will factually.
Don't forget the Andreas Christensen clean sheet. I need that as well.
The Yadars on Jorginho will hate that. Like, he got so much criticism.
They probably prefer to lose the final than him scoring the winner. I guarantee.
Do you know how much I want to see Jorginho win the Champions League with his skip penalty? Do you know how hilarious that would be? All the years of slander, and he wins it with a hop, does the little fucking Mbappe to the camera and everything, and walks off. Hilarious! I'm all here for it.
No. You know what I would like if he does the Kovacic celebration from the Valencia goal, where he did like that, just to like mug everybody up.
Or even worse, just come and shush the fans, because half of them deserve it.
Yeah, go like that. Or like that. One of those, yeah.
That's wallpaper material right there.
If he does that, I'm printing it and hanging it on my wall. I don't care.
I want it on the background there, just next to a few of your programs.
Exactly. No, exactly. I will hang it up instead of the flag or below the flag, and I put the
Damn
flag
right.
sideways on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've had a brilliant time. Didn't necessarily think, this will go as well as it has. Ladies and gentlemen, we still have over 330 people watching. Pice has got to head off in a minute, so we're literally wrapping this up right now. If you're still watching and you're new here, please be sure to subscribe. Help me reach 200 likes right now. Go down below, smash that like button. It literally takes half a second of your time, right? Go down below, click the like button, and just help me out. Please do that. I'd be massively appreciated. Again, subscribe if you haven't already. Become a member if you fancy that as well. Of course, subscribe to Lewis's channel at Carefree Lewis G. The link is down in the description, as well as Pice's Twitter. To both of you, appreciate you for coming on. I'll talk to you both soon. We have, I suppose, the joint biggest week in the history of our football club coming up this week. So, it's going to be a big one. It's going to be a nervous one, a nervy one. We're going to have a fair few streams coming up this week, so definitely make sure you subscribe and tune in for those. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, and I'll see you next time.